All right, and we're recording. Okay, so today I'm doing this video, this little podcast, and I'm basically here to do what I call throw the left a bone. This is just the start of this. Hopefully, it's going to be something that goes on to do great things. So, this is 4 reasonable explanations the left can use when they explain why they hate Trump. Now, before we get into it, if you talk to a lot of people on the left, it's not everyone, okay? You say, okay, you hate Trump. Elaborate why. It's normally the same 3 or 4 keywords: sexist, racist, bigot, misogynist, and or xenophobe. We hear that constantly. Now, before I get into this, okay, and those explanations are somewhat unreasonable because the jury's still out on that. We're living in a time where you could label anybody anything, and whether they are or they aren't, they still have to defend against it, which is, it's kind of a crazy time reminiscent of 1984. Before we get into it, I want to say I'm not a left guy, I'm not a right. I'm more of an independent guy. The last politician I probably liked was Ron Paul. Most of them I don't like. This is from a personal view of why I would tend to disagree or not like Trump. These are a few reasons. So, number one, I'm trying to put it on a timeline. And I'm not the most educated dude. I'm a blue collar dude, work a blue collar job. I like to make rap music. I didn't go too far in school. I'm not one of these college degree talking heads like Chris Cuomo or Tucker Carlson. So let's start off and fuck the chronological order. So putting John Bolton in, I believe he's a national security advisor. Look, John Bolton was under Bush. He is a neocon war hawk. He loves war, but God forbid, Mr. Bolton, if you see this, I know you would not go on the front line yourself and pick up a rifle because, this is my rifle. He doesn't have one, so his isn't like mine, I guess. So John Bolton, a lot of people don't like him, and that's something the left can use. Look, John Bolton's a neocon. He did terrible things under George Bush. So next would be extending the war in Iraq, which it's kind of weird, the climate today, because even the Democrats on the left, the corporate Democrat neoliberal types, they may have a gang of craziness of why they hate Trump, but they never say extending the Iraq war. The Democrats used to be the anti-war party. There used to be a big anti-war movement in this country. Now, the younger, so-called my generation millennials don't even care about war. Maybe they don't know that it's even going on in 7 different countries. So Trump extending the Iraq war, that's a problem. I don't think that's a solution to win. From a war perspective, I'm more of maybe like a libertarian type of guy where, look, we need to worry about ourselves. Call it nationalist, I don't know. We need to worry about ourselves before we get involved elsewhere. So, another reason, these would be 2 reasons, would be the bombing 2 times of Syria, which for me, it goes right into, it's similar to extending the Iraq war. That's a problem. I don't like that. I don't want us lobbing missiles at any goddamn country across the globe unless it's absolutely necessary. I don't think we should be engaging in certain types of wars and warlike activities unless it is absolutely necessary. For example, we're about to get invaded. If you notice, I think really the last time we were invaded by a foreign power would have been the American Revolution. That's how long it's been. People know we've solidified ourselves as this great military power, which can be a good or a bad thing. So yeah, bombing Syria, I don't believe the intel was too good when Syria was bombed either, which means if the intel wasn't good, these chemical attacks may not have been what they actually were. Then Trump was gullible and fell for it. Oh, big news. We know he's gullible anyway. So that, and also Syria's biggest ally is Russia. Regardless of what you think of Russia, if you think they hacked the election or not, you believe that, I don't really care. Look, you're entitled to your opinion. But one thing, we don't want a war with Russia, period. At least I don't. I'm an anti war guy, and I miss the anti war movements. It seems with the Democrats, some of the on the left, the few people that are still kind of an anti war perspective would be progressives. And then one of the last ones, and you could probably think of a lot more. Um, One of the last ones, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. Dropping the mother of all bombs on Afghanistan, that plays right into it as well. That causes a lot of devastation, even if it is in the name of hitting whoever ISIS. Is it really absolutely worth it? I mean, killing civilians, it does not work anywhere. Look at Israel. They kill civilians in Palestine. Palestine does the same thing. So these are literally real reasons that if you are on the left and you are more reasonable, I'm kind of like throwing you a bone right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I've talked to a lot of people on the left and it's this constant racism, sexism, bigot, misogynist. He's a rapist waiting for you in the bushes. And I'm kind of overdoing it with that last statement, overstating it. But, the jury is still out on that. Okay, we don't have a tape of Trump saying the N word or this, and that. Okay, yeah, he says dog or certain things that could be dog whistles, but dog whistles, we don't hear them, So it's like, okay, maybe you could argue it, but if it's really policies that are, racism and it's because of his inner white supremacy and he's sympathetic to the white nationalists who fucking white nationalists in this country don't even make up a half of a 1%, like literally. And you would have to argue about the systemic thing. You can't just say somebody's racist and not give me any facts. I mean, you got freedom of speech. You could, but I would prefer that you elaborate in the name of dialogue and debating. So, the left, you guys come off as very irrational. And, when I started out very young getting engaged in politics, I was on the left. But I found now the beauty of being an independent is I can agree with a little bit of both sides, but I also know as an independent to acknowledge that they're both for the majority wrong. And that's it. That was a few reasonable explanations the left can use on why they hate Trump.